Hello, my name is Rosie Lewis. I joined this community 7 years ago. I had been searching for a church for over a year when my partner, Mark Highland, said, consider UUSS as a home. I had been attending UUS for a while, but under Reverend Margaret, it was when I decided that I really might want to commit to this church. And I committed my gifts and finances to supporting and sustaining this community and signed the book when Reverend Wendy and Reverend Lynn became ministers after attending the Getting to Know UU. I'm a Christian. Some may say I believe in magic and miracles and big guy in the sky. Yes, I do to some degree. But what I truly believe is love with a capital L. A love that encourages, supports, comforts, and carries us. I found this kind of love here amongst you at UUSS. How you care exhibits the love I, as a Christian, am called to embody. Ernie Hall leads his volunteers to clean the gardens in both fall and spring. Dan Leonard and Sarah Meissner salted the walkways when we were without a custodian. The caring team ensures comfort and help when hard things happen. A phone call, a hot meal, a ride to church, a visit or a card, a conversation after church. This is love. The way this community embraced Mark and I and sustained us both while Mark was battling lung cancer, it was humbling. The visits cheered him, the phone calls meant so much. Roz Dahl offered a transport wheelchair, which I could manage so I could take Mark to chemotherapy and to his appointments. Bridget Almus gently invited me on a walk after church, which I needed on that particular day. Christy Moulter could always make Mark laugh, and Mark loved the conversations with George Shaw in the garden, the encouraging emails and texts from Stephanie Mislenka, and the visits from our beloved Revs. Reverend Wendy and Reverend Lynn were there for us, as was this community. I was sometimes overwhelmed, and the Revs offered resources and practices to ground me. I have only named a few people, but the concern and care exhibited towards us by this community were sustaining and comforting. And finally, when Mark died, you showed up. You showed up with phone calls and visits and dinners and cards filled with loves of care, filled with words of love and care and sympathy. Mark was a stewardship chair for several years and enjoyed the work. Numbers were Mark's passion, and serving the community in this capacity was his way of sharing his gifts. I was a silent bystander to the process as he led his team in determining how best to engage and motivate us to pledge, to give. It was sometimes a struggle, and I always thought it should be easier, but many factors determine how generous we are. Watching this stewardship process has spurred me to be as generous as I can with my finances. My first pledge in fiscal year 2018 and 2019 was $2,400. In the fiscal year 2021 and 2022, the stewardship team needed some of us to commit to increasing our pledge because we would not make the required numbers. So I increased my pledge to $3,100. In fiscal year 2023, I again increased my pledge to $3,200. Due to the community's needs and because I could afford to do so. This year, I plan to expand my pledge by $200 and will pledge $3,400. Coming out of the pandemic, we lost membership, as did most churches, and some of our members and their families experienced loss. We are growing, but there are fewer of us to sustain this society. And I feel the need to give more because I want this congregation to last a long time into the future, to support my daughter, my grandchildren, and because I know there are some families who might not be able to afford as much. We are not perfect, but we continue the work of siding with love, proclaiming that Black lives do matter, writing letters and postcards to spur folks to get out and vote, marching for change, and voting our principles. We care for each other and this world. We are UUSS, and we love out loud.